Even after 22 years of being in sales, man, I was fearful, man. I was just in this slump. And it was in reading this that I realized, man, I kept coming back to this chapter. All I'm doing is I'm looking at the gap. I'm seeing what's missing. I'm thinking how hard the day is and how long the days are. And, you start second guessing yourself about all kind of different things. See, I was looking at the gap. So it was in this time, man, I had a choice to make. You have a choice to make. You can either stare at the gap or you can fill the gap. And the way that you fill the gap is with vision. What do I see on the other side? When there's a gap that needs to be filled, what happens for you? Do you see the opportunity or potential, or do you see what's missing? And if you focus on the gap as a problem, then you're going to only make the situation worse. Because, see, all you do is you see the gap, and you feel that you don't have what it takes, or that it's going to be too hard to fill the gap. So the only way to fill the gap is with vision. And vision it's an act and a power of anticipating. So the only way to fill the gap is with vision. And it's in these small moments in which we must take a step forward, small step forward, and remind ourselves what we see for ourselves. See, it's important to not get stuck. And the way that you don't get stuck is you reinvent your perspective. And your perspective is your mental view by returning over and over again to your vision. See, it's in this that you'll unleash incredible energy. And I love this part. Suffocate the fear, making it possible for you to fulfill your highest potential, no matter how many gaps and no matter how wide the gaps. That was from Molly Fletcher's book, Fearless at Work. And I really needed that book at that time because, dude, I was walking around being very fearful. Even after 22 years of being in sales, man, I was fearful, man. I was just in this slump. And it was in reading this that I realized, man, I kept coming back to this chapter. All I'm doing is I'm looking at the gap. I'm seeing what's missing. I'm thinking how hard the day is and how long the days are. And, you start second guessing yourself about all kind of different things. See, I was looking at the gap. So it was in this time, man, I had a choice to make. You have a choice to make. You can either stare at the gap or you can fill the gap. And the way that you fill the gap is with vision. What do I see on the other side? And this got me to thinking. I started thinking back. Those of you who have been with me for quite some time remember the struggles that I had when I was trying to sell a property last year. And it was a property, man, that nobody was living there. It was just thousands of dollars, man. It seemed like every time, man, every day I went back to that property, it was something else. Whether there was rotten wood, rotten trees, the AC is out, the refrigerator is out, the pool in the backyard looked like a swamp, the toilets were stopped up, the sewage was messed up. I mean, dude, every single day, man. And I remember that time, and it was during that time that I remembered, dude, I had a vision that, and I didn't realize it was a vision. But I had this vision that, Marsh, if you could just get to the other side of this, this is what life's going to look like for you. Because once the property sells, then whatever the debts are, you settle the debts. If there's anything left over, man, it's nothing you can't handle, but the burden will be better and you'll be able to get your way out. And then this way, man, this is how you're going to build your life back. Dude, I could literally see that. And don't get me wrong, man, there were days, dude, that it was nothing but gap. There were days that my eyes were just wide open, man. I just kept staring at the gap itself. And all I could see was the gap. the lack, what was wrong, there's no buyers, bad market, whatever the case may be. I kept looking at those things, but it's in those moments when you step up to a gap. You can either look at the size of the gap or how many gaps you've had to overcome in your life. You can either remind yourself of that, or you can do what Molly Fletcher said in her book. You can move forward with small moments. Number one, move forward with small moments. Number two, reinvent your perspective, your mental view of what you see on the other side. So you can fill the gap. You can fill the gap with vision. And I'm always cautious about vision, man, because every time, dude, I would hear somebody talk about vision, I would like, oh my God, here we go with another vision board. What's the vision you have? And I would always run from those things. But vision, man, when I looked it up, vision is just, it's a power that you possess. It's an act that you can actually take to anticipate what you want to see have happen. And see, if you have that vision, then you start working in that power. You start taking those actions. And instead of just saying, oh, I'm just going to take small steps today. I like what she said. Molly Fletcher said, take small moments. It's the small moments. See, this is when you get upon certain situations and you say, this is a small moment for me. This is my chance to kind of fill the gap. See, the house was a huge gap for me. But I kept reinventing my perspective. I kept coming back to what I see on the other side. Just get to the other side. And some days, dude, I was so broke and so tired and so frustrated. But that's what got me through. That's what got me to bed and say, man, look, we're going to narrow that gap tomorrow. It's going to get a little bit smaller. In case in point, modern day, dude. When my productivity is down there, it worked, man. Where it seems like no customer's even buying from me, like nothing is coming together for me. And 1 minute it's working, man. 1 minute I'm a rock star. The next minute, man, I'm a has-been, it feels like. And so when I have these certain situations, it's a gap. That's all it is a gap. And the question is what am I doing to fill the gap? Question for you. How many times have you brought an excavator instead of a shovel to your situation? And you know those excavators, man, with those big giant buckets, those bucket shovels, man, and they scoop out large amounts. All you're doing is you make the gap larger, right? And how many times have you brought an excavator to your problem and only made the situation worse? Instead of bringing a shovel. Small scoop, man. Small moments, and you begin to fill the gap. See, with a shovel, dude, if it's a 10-foot ditch, man, I'm not going to fill it up with one shovel scoop. You can with an excavator, but I don't have an excavator. The excavator only makes the situation worse. But if I bring a shovel and make these small moments, yes, it's a small scoop, but dude, if I repeatedly do this, every time I have a scoop, man, I'm putting my shovel back into the dirt, into my situation, and I'm scooping a little bit back. I'm gonna fill the gap. And every time I get frustrated, every time, dude, that I want to give up, I just remind myself, this is what I see on the other side. And don't get me wrong, man, your mind's going to remind you of the gap. It's going to remind you of the lack. It's going to remind you how unfair things are. Your mind is going to try to take you back to that. Keep reinventing your perspective. And I love what she said, reinvent your perspective. And this is important because reinventing your perspective means that it's fluid. It means that it's going to actually shift. So instead of you're not just reading some vision off a card. I see myself as a multimillionaire in 2 years. You're not saying anything like that. When you reinvent your perspective, what you're doing is the narrative may shift a little bit, but all it does is it actually strengthens your vision. All it does is strengthen your vision. So in other words, your vision initially may have been huge, man. Maybe it was a little bit blurry, but when you get to these gap moments and you fill the gap with these small moments and you reinvent your perspective, your mental shift, your mental mind of what you see to have happen, what it does is it actually clears the vision up. And maybe it strengthens the vision, but it gets it more precise, more concise, and more clear. Reinvent your perspective over and over again, small moments. small scoops, just bring the shovel, not the excavator. The podcast for me, dude? Yeah. There are some days, dude, I look at it as a gap, but I return to the vision of the sales life being worldwide, because selling is a skill that everybody needs. Selling is a skill that they need to keep selling themselves. So when I see the gap, I return to the vision. My weight loss, when I was, almost 100 pounds, I was closer to 100 than I was 0. I was almost 100 pounds overweight. But I had the vision. I kept returning. I saw the gap. Oh my God, this is going to take me forever. I saw the gap, man. But I returned to the vision. You know what my vision was? A 34-inch pant line. I could literally see the little label sewn on the inside of a pair of pants. Blue pair of pants, as a matter of fact. A blue pair of pants. I don't know why blue. I wish they were purple. A blue pair of pants. And I saw the 34-inch tag. That's what I kept returning back to. So days that I was super frustrated, I returned back to the vision. The coronavirus is a modern day gap. Huge gap. And you know what? Most people are going to see the gap. They're going to see the lack. And it's no doubt it's a gap. And as we go through this gap, as we take the small moments, dude, on the other side of this, what do you see on the other side of this? And so you begin to take small moments, and life as you know it may be totally different, man. It's going to be totally different on the other side. And yes, your credit lines may be maxed out. You may ruin some of your credit. You can get it back. You may go through this where you come out the other side smoking. When people come out of a fire and all of a sudden, like, their jacket and everything, you see them on the movies and their jacket's like on fire, it's like smoking. We may do that. We may have soot all over our face. This may be unprecedented times, but I'm telling you, dude, even though it's a gap, take the small moments and fill it with vision. Reinvent your perspective over and over again. No matter how bad the gap looks, no matter how deep the gap looks, reinvent your perspective. Come back to it over and over again. Dude, you can work your social media right now. You may have never worked it before. Now you have the time to do it. This is a chance for you to reinvent your profession. I have a lot of salespeople, man, who are reinventing their profession. They're not at a bricks and mortar store. So what they're having to do is they're having to work their skills better on the phone. They're having to work virtually from home. They're having to sell virtually from home. Total game changer. Total game changer. But see, this is where you can actually reinvent your perspective and fill it with a new vision that you see for yourself. Oh my God, this is what I see life moving forward. You can either do that, or you can do what many people are doing, is sit there and they look at the gap. They're waiting on a stimulus package. They're waiting on a check. They're waiting for someone to say, okay, man, the coast is clear. Y'all can come out. No. Because, dude, no matter what, there's always going to be gaps in your life. You're always going to face those things, and you can either stare at the gap or you can fill it. Your choice. All right? Go kick some ass today. Have an amazing gap-filled day. Fill the gap with your vision. Remember, never settle. Keep selling. Stay in the sales life.